Stay connected as we discuss shared passions and firsthand experiences intended to enlighten, entertain, and encourage you to try new things. This is not a how-to, this is a why you should. Welcome to the You Should podcast.
Dang, yours is always better than mine. It really is. You always get that crisper crack. I haven't got there yet.
Yeah.
So today's beer, Everywhere Brewery. They're over in Orange.
Local.
Super local. I think they just celebrated their 3rd year anniversary. This is one of their hazies, and why I really like this brewery. Nothing is overwhelming. So they just make really good, solid, easy to drink beers that just kind of hit my palate right.
That's good.
Right? So you're getting
That's good. It's good.
the Citra, you're getting the Citra on that. You're getting some hoppiness.
It's on way longer on your palate. And is it just a brewery, or do they have like a...
Just a brewery. They'll have food trucks come in. They're over on Orangewood, really close to Anaheim Stadium.
Oh, okay.
In a little industrial park. And they also just opened a tasting room in Long Beach.
Excellent.
I think everywhere, for me, their hazies really stand out. They're not too fruity.
No, it's
they're not too overpowering. I don't know. It's just a good, solid.
I like that, the balance on the tongue too,
Yep.
right? Like no bite in the back, the sides are happy.
Right.
Like it's good.
So definitely check out Everywhere if you're in Orange County. It's definitely worth a trip to the brewery. Really cool little hangout spot if you want to go have a couple of beers. They have food trucks.
Yeah.
If you're going to an Angel game, it's a great pre-game spot to hit. And I think they're probably like a third of a mile from the stadium. So.
Yeah. Everywhere. We got the glasses. Everywhere.
I did. I fanboyed out. So I did. I've really been into Everywhere the last 5 or 6 months. And I did I went over there, bought a bunch of glasses, sent my buddy Matt, who lives in Bend. I've sent him a case just of random beers. So I don't know. It's good. It's really good.
Delicious.
And again, we want to support these local breweries.
All right. Ready to kick it off?
All right, let's kick it off. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the You Should cast. We truly appreciate you listening or watching us. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Spotify, Apple, and all of our social media platforms at You Should Cast. All right, Mike, who's on tap for tonight?
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce you to a man whose life is an extraordinary tapestry of passion, skill, and dedication. He's the kind of man who finds peace in the soil beneath his fingertips, nurturing the earth with the gardener's patience as he grows food that nourishes both body and soul. His backyard is a sanctuary where vegetables and flowers bloom in perfect harmony. The fruits of his labor reflected the care he pours into every corner of his life. He spent decades restoring old cars, building things with his own 2 hands, and cultivating not just crops, but values that have shaped him into the man he is today. He's a husband to a beautiful wife, the father to 4, and a friend to many. In all he does, his goal is clear: to be the best man he can be, not just for himself, but for everyone he knows. He's a follower of Jesus, and as his example, he's learned that true greatness isn't about accolades or achievements, but in serving, loving, and being present. His is a life full of purpose. With a hand that creates and a heart that gives, this week's guest is Mr. Paul Dalmas.
That's crazy. I'm so humbled right now.
Dude. Paul, we really appreciate you being here tonight. Mike and I did a pre-show talk, and we really discovered that there's so much more to gardening. And so we're super pumped to have you in. We're excited to get all of your knowledge. How did you get started in this?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. This is really cool to be able to be a part of and support you guys and to share some of my gardening story. Actually, it started when I was in elementary school. I lived across the street from my grandpa, and he had what would have been a victory garden back in the day, but for years and years and years, he kind of kept that going. So it was just kind of part of, like, half of his backyard was rows of crops. And so I'd go over there and help grandpa. And then probably around 5th or 6th grade, I asked my parents for my own little spot in our backyard.
And how did you go about doing that? Did you actually cut out a little plot?
My grandpa and my dad had a part in that. They got some railroad ties and just kind of squared off a corner and said, "This is yours. Do what you want with it." So every spring I turned the soil and put plants in the ground, and every fall I turned it into a big army base and dug a hole, and just kind of was a kid just exploring and having fun back there. And it was just fun just to grow stuff and watch it grow and be a part of that, bring it into my mom and see what she would do with it.
And at that age, what were your first crops? Do you remember, like, what are you trying at that point?
Oh yeah, I grew tomatoes even though I hated eating them then, but I knew everyone in my family enjoyed them except me. So I grew tomatoes and zucchini and some corn, so a few peppers and stuff like that. So yeah, pretty simple, but had a lot of success and just enjoyed being in the dirt, I think was most of it, and watching things grow.
And as you do this, is this like through grade school and then high school? Did that garden grow?
No, it ended very quickly in junior high, I'd say. Sometime, 7th, 8th grade, boys turning into a man type stuff. And it wasn't, I didn't want to spend my time back there anymore.
Right.
I was more involved with, especially in high school sports and just the high school scene. So I didn't garden for all the way through college. And until I got my first condo, I was probably mid-20s, late 20s, somewhere in that range. And then, I had a small backyard and I planted a few things in pots and just kind of always knew I enjoyed it. So I just kind of did that, in the busy of life. But once I bought our home, I was like, this is on. Like, I can't wait. So that was probably 17 years ago is when I first started again. I had my own land, in my own backyard, and I could do what I wanted with it. It kind of open blank piece of paper. So, yeah.
So when you say land, I mean, we're in Southern California, right? So like land is a little different here in Southern California than it is in the rest of the country.
Yes, sir.
Right. So our backyard's not known for being.
No.
Somebody in Nebraska is like, oh my God, you had a 20 by 20 acre? Acre? No, feet.
I think my first area in the backyard that at this home was like 15 by 12, kind of just blocked off an area that used to be grass and turned it into a garden. So yeah, that's kind of how it all got started.
And having that background, even maybe as casual as it was, but doing it when you were younger and then, with your condo, and then you do have that bigger space, right? So now you're looking at maybe a couple hundred square feet. How did you go about deciding what I'm going to plant? Was that just a trial and error? Did you do that?
It was definitely a little bit of everything. So when I first started with this garden, it was just a plot of land and I wanted to plant a summer garden. So a salsa garden, tomatoes, peppers, onions and cilantro, that type of thing.
And is that like an April through September type?
Yeah. You can out here, you can start in March. March works. And then, all the way through October, usually, our summer grow season's really long. And then it kind of started like that. And it turned into, well, I want to kind of learn about, I just added some topsoil and planted stuff in the ground and stuff.
Like topsoil, like, hey, I'm going to go to Home Depot and just get bags of Miracle Grow soil.
So yes, topsoil, actually, it was a little bit bigger. So I got a couple scoops at a local like landscape place and filled that area with better soil. But then I quickly started learning like that's good for a year, maybe 2. You might get 2 seasons out of that soil, but if you're not putting back into the ground, your crops are sucking all the nutrients out of it. They're sucking everything out of the ground. And so that's where a lot of people start to lose interest or their success goes down significantly in that second year. It's because the soil is getting depleted and we're not putting back into it. So then I started learning about, well, what do I got to do to sustain this? So I started working towards sustainability and finding out ways to continually rejuvenate the ground. And then, it just kind of springboarded from there. So then I was like, well, I want to plant some fruit trees. And then I started adding fruit trees. Yeah.
So my wife and I, we were the classic during COVID, like 100 million other people. We went out, I got some 2x12s. We did 4x4 little squares, right? Filled it up with the soil. I think we had strawberries and then we did some tomatoes and we did the salsa garden, right? We did that exact thing. First harvest was great. All this stuff was coming up. Second one, a little bit less. Third one, nothing. And we lost interest.
Yeah.
Okay. So we had no idea about the soil. Totally lost interest, gave it up, and that was that.
And soon the weeds come. Like you said, a lot of people did that over COVID. And I was like, this is awesome. But at the same time, I'm looking at like buddies at work. I just started a garden, over text because we're not at work, but those types of things. And I was like, oh, cool. go for it, but there's a lot more to it. Like we have time at home. You can do it right now, but if you're not going to learn about it and try and understand how the systems work together, it's going to be hard to sustain years of this.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that system, how you really have to with the soil, because I think a lot of people, whether they have a garden now, they may not be anticipating, oh, you mean I just don't pick and then throw seeds in and keep going?
Well, there's like the three, right? There's I've never done this before, but I've always wanted to do a garden, right? Mark and COVID.
Yeah, which
right?
you can have great success for a year or so.
Correct.
Yeah.
You're going to go buy your soil, right? And then you're going to have one harvest and you're going to be successful. Right. And then the next
Invite all your friends over. Yeah, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And next year you got to start all over. You got to go buy another.
You got to go buy the soil again. Yeah.
Right. So then sustainability becomes an issue because you're buying dirt every year. So the intermediate is someone who had some success, but now wants to take it to the next level. I don't want to keep going and buying dirt.
Right.
So
I mean, there's a lot of options there. So there's composting, which everyone's heard of composting.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a lot simpler it's not some mad scientist stuff. It's literally just taking the scraps and the lawn clippings and whatever's around your house and just throwing it in a pile. That's literally all you have to do. If you turn it every once in a while, it speeds up. And then
And what does that do?
So soil is alive when it's good. So there's microbes and organisms. On the microscopic level, it's nuts. So it's like a party when things are good in the ground. Mm-hmm. And through years of growing stuff, it gets depleted, it gets dried out, it loses the vitality. Right. So with compost, what you're doing is you're building that life again. You're building that cycle. Mm. All these little microbes and even bugs that you can see are breaking down, worms and whatnot, are breaking down all of this. And it's all the byproduct of that broke down that you're putting back in the soil with all those organisms. And it creates this more thriving, lively earth. So that's what plants are going to thrive in. I mean, if you look at the desert, what grows out there is just scraggly, just branch. I mean, there's not a lot of life in that soil. Mm-hmm. It's dead. It's dry.
Right.
Like moisture is part of that. Like dirt alone, just sand alone is not good. Like you need a mixture of plant product in there too to be able to help retain moisture and those types of things. So it's kind of a little bit of everything in the compost.
And then when you put the compost in, are you just mixing it in? Are you just tilling it up, or how does?
So I used to think, I got to rototill every year. Mm-hmm. I got to turn the soil. I got to break it up. I got to do all these things.
Right.
I am the opposite of that now. I'm not going to till and plant in rows because the tilling, at least in my opinion, because this is gardening and there's a 1,000 different ways to do it. But in my opinion, like when you break up the soil with a rototiller or even a shovel, if you're going to get crazy, it kills the soil. It dries it out. It turns the bottom upside down, and that works kind of the opposite of what you want to do. You're trying to grow diversity, the microorganisms and all that. You want to keep them happy, and if you're turning them upside down and whacking them on the head, it's
so what I'm realizing, I did the exact opposite of everything you just said. So got in there with the shovel, was turning it over, throwing a bunch of Miracle-Gro in there. That was my next question. Is any of the over-the-counter things that you can buy just a waste of money?
It'll give you success, but it's going to kill the soil. So if you use chemicals, what do chemicals generally do? I mean, they're going to kill things, right? Just use Miracle-Gro as an example. The more times you use it, the more you have to use it. Because nothing's going to grow in it after that. So you need the chemicals to feed your plants. Yeah. So if you're going to go that route, I don't recommend it, but you can, but you're going to have to be buying some sort of a unnatural fertilizer every year to be able to help your plants grow.
I feel like this is such a great point. Anytime you are adding a foreign substance to that soil, now you're basically going down that road where now you have to continually keep adding that.
Right, which is, I'm at the point where you won't see any of that stuff in my house. The only place I'll use anything like that is like a weed and feed on my front lawn. Mm-hmm. It gets nowhere near the food I'm eating. Because I don't know where those chemicals go, but I don't want to be like, there's then the difference between like if you go to the supermarket, organic and not organic.
Right.
Like, why do people want to buy organic? Well, there's reasons behind that. I'm no scientist, but there's reasons behind the organic's more expensive for several different reasons, you know, and the pesticide and herbicide and fertilizers that are put into they're easier to grow for the farmer. Like, I get why they do it. Like, I can get way more out of a small area if I'm going to dump, you know, chemicals on them. But for me, if I'm growing it in my backyard, I don't need to do that. I can go buy that somewhere else. Whereas at my house, with the amount of nutrients I can get naturally,
Right.
and I can do it on a much smaller scale where I tend it, and I have control over what I'm putting in my mouth and my family's mouth.
Okay, so beginner starts with Miracle Grow. Dig a hole, fill it with a bag of Miracle Grow, put a plant in there.
Or even a pot. And it doesn't matter.
In a pot.
Yeah.
And it'll work.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Intermediate, step up, like you had some success beginner. Going next level is, now I need to feed my soil. The recommendation is with compost.
Yeah, that's one way you can do it. Absolutely.
So rather than buying Miracle Grow, I'm going to go buy a couple bags of compost if I'm not making my own, because you can buy compost at a nursery or Home Depot or Lowe's or
yeah.
A lot of stables have compost for sale with the horse crap that's being generated.
And I've been known to go to stables and ask if I can fill trash cans full of manure, and then I throw that in my compost. And
How long does that take to break down? It just kind of
It jump starts it, doesn't it?
yeah, it's pretty quick because it's hot. Hot meaning like it's super high in nitrogen.
literally or figuratively?
Both. Absolutely.
both.
It'll
absolutely.
Compost that's cooking will
It'll
actually
steam.
steam, and if you put your hand in there, you'll pull it out because it's that hot. Shit you not. It's amazing.
Shit, you're not.
Shit you not. It is hot. Hot. Blows your mind the first time you see it. You're like, what is going on here?
Absolutely. And,
right.
and that's a great place. Like, so I have chickens. So there's another whole level. Like,
Right.
to have an animal that's helping you close this circuit.
Right.
Like this cycle of how things are processed at your house. So I know we're getting into the more advanced type stuff, but chickens help.
Chickens and horses, good.
Yeah. Goats.
Dogs, people, bad.
Yeah, you don't want.
And is that because of what they eat? Like horses just eat hay, so that's just more
The bacteria.
compatible.
You don't
Yeah.
want people poo or dog poo in
Yeah.
your compost.
People that get wild with that stuff. I'm not one of them.
So the compost, do you build like a box to put that in, or are you really just piling it up and then?
I've done it all different ways.
Okay.
Yeah. I have a couple of boxes now that I use. So I plant a summer garden. Well, I plant in spring and in fall. So a lot of people don't understand and break maybe, like you can grow garden year round here. So the winter garden for me is super fun. And even like,
But I think this is a great topic because, again, I feel like I'm a great person to be asking these questions because people that really want to know, I have no idea. There's even a split there. So, and like you're saying, hey, if I got my summer salsa garden going and then the wintertime, I get to have totally different. We did that exact thing. Got the shovel, did it all up, threw some more soil, threw some Home Depot, whatever on there.
which
and then, oh my God, nothing's coming.
but it'll work.
Right.
But you have to keep inputting,
Right,
keep doing
yeah.
all those big laborious things.
Right. Because I was going to say, we planted strawberries. Just, background, like we planted strawberries and nothing came up. There were all these like nice little, little leaves and all that, but no strawberries, right?
Well, yeah, it depends when you planted them, and also depends on what kind of strawberry you planted. So varieties are huge. So there's June-bearing strawberries, and then there's ever-bearing strawberries. So if it wasn't June, and you didn't get anything in June, they probably weren't June-bearing. They were probably ever-bearing, which, it kind of depends when you planted them and what they were, and yeah.
No, but Paul, that's a great point. So before I plant anything, how do I even go about learning what to plant, time frames, and I mean, what's the best method to start? Like I don't even know what to plant.
Yeah. So I think there's several things that are important here. What climate you live in. So, I mean, here in Southern California, like there's the coastal climates, there's the Inland Empire climates, there's the kind of the Orange County, more foothills climates. So depending on where you are, it's going to kind of dictate, number one, when you can plant, and also like number two, what you should plant and what's going to be successful and what's not going to be successful. So with like, let's just take orchard trees for an example. So one of the things that dictates like stone fruits being like your nectarines, peaches, plums, those types of fruits, are chill hours. So if you plant something that needs 500 chill hours and you live in Orange County,
What's a chill hour?
a chill hour is anything under 45 degrees. So if you plant something that needs 500 chill hours, you're never once so you'll have a beautiful peach tree
Right.
that grows wonderfully and looks beautiful, but you'll never get a peach because we don't ever get 500 chill hours. You need to find the variety that matches your climate, where the climate zones, so sunset zones and climate zones, there's a bunch of information, in books and online that'll pinpoint kind of where you are. Where I am in Yorbaland, it's B. B is our climate zone. So I kind of try and keep my.
So you really can follow that chart, and it's pretty accurate.
Absolutely. Or there's way smarter people than me that have done this for a lot longer, and they've figured out all these climates and.
Awesome.
Like when your last frost is. So here frost is, we can get frost and it can kill things, but it's not near as important as, say, if you lived in Sacramento. Like Sacramento is going to have a lot colder climate during the winter, and you're going to have to wait longer before you plant, say, your tomato plant outside, maybe a month or two longer than we do here.
Right.
And then even more extreme the further out you get. So those things, that's one of the things that's really important and can mess gardeners up. Like I wouldn't plant carrots in April. When most people are planting their gardens, let's say in Southern California, if I'm a beginner.
Yeah, because I would definitely,
Everybody loves carrots.
Right. Everybody loves them. If you're planting a garden, that is
plant
the
carrots.
Right.
100%. Everyone's putting carrots in the ground in spring. Well, I put carrots in the ground in October. For Southern California, that's a winter crop.
Meaning they need a colder climate.
Because as soon as it gets 90 degrees, those carrot plants are going to say, "Forget this, I'm out of here." They're gonna die on you, and you're gonna be like, "Why are my carrots an inch long and green on top?" They're just not gonna grow well. So understanding what you want to plant and when you're gonna plant it is really important, and doing that specific to where you live is really important.
What do you think the best resource to finding that is? Like, is it just you just got to dig in there and do some Googling?
It's you can, if you say I want to plant carrots in Southern California, like you're going to get 1,000 different answers, but most of them are going to push you kind of towards the cooler climates. So they may say, "Oh, you can plant them in February," but if they better be out of the ground hopefully they're grown by April. It's going to depend on how long the maturity takes. So is it going to grow? Is it a fast growing carrot? Or is it a slow growing carrot? So there's a little bit of research that it takes depending on what you're putting in, what you want to put in the ground.
So you got to Google your climate zone. So you know what you can grow. And then you're going to Google what can be grown in my climate zone in whatever the month is you're in.
Yeah. Whatever month you're hoping to plant.
Right.
And then the third thing I've kind of picking up from experience is plant what you're going to eat. I got so excited about all this stuff, years and years and years ago, and I'd plant these wild things that no one's ever heard of, like celeriac and, some just wild things, and I'd grow them and they'd be great and big and awesome. And then, well, what the heck do I do with this? Like, okay, how many soups can I make with this stuff? And my family's like, I don't want to eat this stuff. Just give me a carrot, It's
That's such a good point. Such a good point right there. I mean,
so plant what you're going to eat.
Because that probably gets boring for you, right? Growing carrots for the 79th time, right? It's like, hey, I want to get a little exotic.
Oh, absolutely.
What's the most exotic thing you've grown in your garden?
I have mangoes. I have coffee. So I have a coffee plant. I haven't roasted it yet, but I do have a jar full of seeds, and I got another group coming. So I think once that one's done, I'm going to combine them and roast them and see what I can get out of it. I grow bananas. We can grow bananas here. It is fantastic.
Really good.
I mean, what's the process with that? Like, what's the time frame?
The bananas are super forgiving. They're a plant. They're not even a tree. So it's, you just plant one stalk and it grows. It probably takes 2 years before it'll fruit. But it only fruits once. So once you get a bunch of bananas on it, you chop that one down. But in the meantime, over those 2 years, it's grown 4 or 5 more off the side of it.
Wow.
So now you got 4 or 5 banana plants. And when those all crop.
I mean, they're legit
Bananas.
Legit.
So
do you grow those?
No, I eat his.
They're not your your Bonita giant, you know,
Yeah.
10-inch long ones. They're more
Plantain.
like, they look more like a plantain, but they taste like a banana.
Non-edible things that he's grown. He grew cotton just to see if he could, which was rad.
Yeah.
Which I still owe you.
I forgot about that.
I still owe you a koozie. So he grew all this cotton, and then I spun it into a yarn, and I still got to make something out of it. I still have it. I haven't done that yet. Last year we grew loofah.
Loofah.
Like in the
Yeah,
shower.
right.
Yeah.
Wait, it actually, do you have to do any modifications to it? Or?
It's like it looks like a giant cucumber. It looks like a giant cucumber, and you let it get mature, and then you peel it because it's super fibrous, and inside is a loofah, like
Yeah.
a spun.
Yeah. Full on sponges. I got tons.
It's got to be cool. You're at this point though where you can do just like.
It's fun stuff. Yeah.
Grew hops.
Yeah. I do grow hops.
Okay, so this is what has to happen over the next year when we have you back.
Okay.
You need to grow hops that Mike uses, and then we drink the beer.
We've done that.
We did a porter. We used his hops.
And what did it? How
for the
was
porter.
it?
The hops he grows were bittering hops. So
In
soft.
climate, so I can only grow
Right.
certain varieties here.
Correct.
So,
But they work like a champ.
yeah,
And
what was it? The Deschutes.
the Shoots Black Beet.
Wow.
It was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had that.
It was
one.
really
Nice.
good.
Damn.
That's one of my favorite beers too.
So I got my climate zone.
Yeah.
I Googled the list of plants that I can grow in the time when I want to plant. And then I pick the ones that I'm actually going to eat.
Yeah.
Right.
So the first three, man, right off the
So
bat.
it may say, let's just say it says tomatoes, right? We're coming into spring, tomatoes. I need to put tomatoes in the ground. Well, there's only about, I don't know, 6 bazillion different varieties of tomato. So now how do I decide?
What do you want to eat?
Maybe some salads, right? I want to have it for like
So you pick a good cherry variety, right? So
sandwiches, salads.
I can give you varieties that I love, but I mean, everyone's going to be a little different.
Well, okay. So like the 3 varieties, right? So you got cherry,
You got the slicers.
right? So that's like your beef steak.
Yeah, the big ones that you slice and maybe put on a hamburger or something like that. And then you got like your heirlooms that are beyond
Yes.
flavorful.
Yep.
And you just kind of chop those up and put them in whatever, or use them in salsa.
Yeah. Are those your favorite for salsa? What's your number one for salsa?
Yes, I would say that Cherokee purple would be one of my favorites.
Cherokee
for salsa.
purple.
Yeah.
You really got to go to the nursery and look at the tomatoes. It's like trying to pick a craft beer, right? Like
Yeah.
you're looking at it and you're like, what's
What's
cosmic
my
moon dust? This
favorite?
makes no sense.
I've grown some wild different colors and stripes and Berkeley tie dye. Like there's so many different. There's hundreds of varieties of them, and they're always coming up with new ones.
Is there one that's easier to grow than others? Like again, let's say for me, I'm a first timer.
Yeah.
I want to have that success.
Yes.
Is there one?
I'm going with the San Marzano. So San Marzano is not a hybrid, so it's super resilient. It'll grow in our climate wonderfully. They overwinter like crazy. I've had San Marzanos, they go all the way into the following year. So I got, even this year, I had 4 San Marzanos last year, and they're still green today. Like they get a little rugged looking in the winter, but I just pulled probably 4 tomatoes off it this week.
Wow, that's awesome.
And I planted them last March.
Yeah, that's super cool.
So, and then what I do is I just root them. I pull off the healthy sticks. I did this week. So I'll pull off the healthy ends of the branches. I'll root them in water, and I'm just going to plant them right off those this year again.
Do you have your fresh vegetables somewhere, Paul? Like, are they off camera? Did you bring those in just so I can then sample them after you're gone and give?
I should. I'm sorry. Next time.
So wait, let's get this straight. You forgot the bourbon. You forgot the vegetables. The reason you're here is for
My bad.
like how
Should have
cool
brought
would
some
that be?
bananas. I mean, I
Oh
couldn't.
man, like bananas. Like we're not good at this, Mike. We really have.
It's true.
I feel like we've gotten an A in some areas, but we definitely have an F in this type of,
It's like our 5th or 6th recording here. So like we're used to like giving, gifts to the guests.
Right,
And
exactly.
we feel we've
should-
been around long enough where we're expecting some
I
gifts.
should some
Exactly, yeah.
gifts. Okay, I
No.
guarantee this. I'm bringing gifts next time.
But so with tomatoes, right? There's different varieties, right? Sizes and styles. But then there's also the ones that will fruit once and go kaput, and then there's the ones that'll continue to fruit.
This is like you're moving into the
This is the intermediate.
Yeah,
question.
Mike, you're up to intermediate
So
level.
there's determinate and indeterminate.
Okay.
So the difference between those, a determinate tomato is it's gonna fruit all at once. So you're gonna plant it in March, and sometime in summertime, depending on the variety, it's gonna be all red, all done. You're gonna pick those tomatoes, and the plant will. You don't even have to grow it anymore. You could pull it out if you want. Like, it's done. And a lot of people grow those for canning. So canning for determinate, if you're a canner, like if you want to make tomato paste for the neighborhood, you'll plant, 10 or 20 determinate tomatoes. They'll all get ripe at the same time, and then you'll can tomato sauce for everyone. Or then there's indeterminate. So indeterminate is you're going to get a successive harvest for several months, depending on the variety. So I only grow indeterminate because I like long harvests. I do can, but I can because I grow so many plants that I'm just inundated, because even though they're indeterminate, there's just too many. I'll give away as many as I can, and then I'll make salsa.
Has Mike ever said,
Canned
dude, I'm
salsa.
good? I'm good.
No, he has not.
Do you think Mike has ever thrown away something you've given him, but the guy's such a good, nice guy, he would never tell you that?
Guarantee.
I guarantee
No
too.
chance.
No, seriously, Mike.
No
Mike,
chance.
come on. Like, honestly, dude. Just something random. Like, you're not intentionally, maybe you didn't use it, you forgot about it.
You got busy.
You got busy. So you're saying nothing ever, not one thing.
Wow. I need to give you more so that can happen.
Yeah, no, I honestly can't think. Oh, the sun chokes.
See, there's always
Sun
one.
chokes.
There's
No,
always
no.
one.
Well, there was a reason.
Okay.
There's always a reason.
Well, it was a medical reason.
All right.
So
It's not a matter. It's a health.
So you're probably not
healthy.
familiar with sun chokes.
Also known as Jerusalem artichokes.
Still not familiar.
Okay. So what they are is it's a tuber. So on the top it looks like a sunflower. It grows nice big, not huge, but big, nice yellow flowers, and they're stalky. So they can be 6-7 feet tall, pretty normal. But in the ground, it's more like a potato. So it grows like these tubers. And in the wintertime, you cut all the stalks down, and then through the winter you can harvest, which is really cool. I like them because they're another crop that you can eat from, say, October all the way to now, like, April. They're in the ground. Nothing's sprouted up out of them yet. You can still eat them. So it's kind of one of those food sources. It's in the ground in the backyard if you want it.
Right.
If you don't eat it, it's going to grow another plant next year. So no harm, no foul. It's kind of leave it there. But the sunchokes, they're also known as fartichokes. So they give you gas. They can. Not everyone, but
Yeah.
they can give you gas, but man, they're flavorful.
So do you have a little go-to sauce that you make for your artichokes? Steam them up? Like, do you have a...
Oh, artichokes. See, artichokes different than sunchokes. The Jerusalem.
Damn, I really... Just so you know, everybody, I'm an amazing griller. I am an amazing griller.
You can grill artichokes.
When it comes to veggies,
Right.
Obviously, we all know at this point, not so much.
Well, artichokes are cool because those just stay year round. Like, they flower once a year, but the plant is
Every year they come back. So that gets into another like kind of system of gardening. So we've been talking a lot about annuals, and then the other side of the coin is perennials. So annuals are things you have to replant every year. So your tomatoes, your peppers, your corn, those types of crops that you're kind of used to. Like they have a season, they're done, they're gone, they die. You have to plant them again next year. And then there's perennials. Perennials come back every year. A fruit tree is a perennial. But then there's also like berries that are perennials. There's artichokes are a perennial. They come back, like they'll die dead to the ground. But then in springtime, you don't have to do anything.
Yeah, we had grapevines along our back fence for probably 10 years. And yeah, they would die out. They would come back. They would die out. It was super cool.
And that's a perennial. So I'm a huge proponent of perennials because it part as far as the system is
The ecosystem of the garden.
It's because they provide that structure that's always going to be there. And it's providing, anytime there's a plant in the ground, there's a root system, and the root system helps the bugs in the ground. It helps the earthworms. It helps break up the soil. It helps do all these natural things year after year after year. And then you plant the annuals in and among them, and then those will die out, and they decompose and feed the perennials that are there. So that's part of the system. So the annuals and the perennials is an important piece too to this.
I wanted to get your feedback on first time, doing a vegetable garden. What is your opinion on buying plants that are already growing? Maybe I buy like a tomato plant versus going the seed route. And we've done both, and we've had success on both of them. But again, first time out, what's your opinion on that?
First time out, I would say buy the plants. You're going to get better success just kind of quicker. I want to build like I was successful at this. Like I want people to be encouraged and to want to do this more. But I would try and stay away from like the big box stores, because those things are just Miracle Grow and
they're already coming into your garden on their
big time. So where I would go, and I did for years before I started seeding everything, is like the local colleges, or even like
Cal State Fullerton, like
Cal
up
State
at
has a huge tomato seal every year, and it's not just tomatoes. They have peppers and all kinds of stuff there. Fullerton College is another place, and you can buy the crazy varieties too, which is really cool. Like you can like grow the purple tomato, grow the striped tomato, grow the orange tomato. You can do all the crazy cool stuff, and it's already started for you, and it gives you that kind of. But that's what you're going to get at those types of places. Like, and Fullerton College does another. They're even later. I think they're usually in April. And I think
just steer past the big box store, get to that second level
if you can. I mean, obviously a lot of people plant from Home Depot, and it's great. It works for them. So I would say just do it is the number one. Just go try it. Number two, you can start figuring out different ways and probably better ways as you kind of grow in it.
But there's also like people that sell starts, right?
Yeah.
So you could find local people who have planted a bunch of seeds.
And we did that. We did that, and that was super cool. Like that was awesome, because you feel, at least we felt, you're more to the source, right? So if we come over to your house and you're getting, you're picking these out and we're taking them, you feel right. When you go into Home Depot, you really don't have that. Like, we're just going in, right?
Supporting local business.
Depot, you're gonna have like two choices. Like every year I sell tomato starts. I sell pepper starts. Not this year. This year I've taken a.
Well, after we air this, there may be a line around your house. Like there may be.
I hope not this year, because I didn't do it this year. But I set up a greenhouse, and I start 100 tomato plants and 100 bell pepper plants, and I plant a ton of stuff. I use a lot of it, but I give a lot of it away. To friends. I sell it in the neighborhood. People. Just to kind of recoup some of the cost it cost me and the time. But that people like that, like there's people, you'll see a tomato plants for sale sign. That's where I would buy my tomatoes.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, and then you also get to meet the person doing it. Now you have a resource to ask questions. What's working, what's not. If you're buying it from someone local that started, it's probably going to grow in your climate zone because they started them here. Typically, you would think they would know a little more than you do.
Anyone that's selling a tomato plant, like they've been doing this a while, so they know what's gonna work, what's not gonna work.
Yeah, and they care. They're into it, right? What is your opinion on raised beds versus in ground? Because I feel like when a lot of people start out, like when we started out, I told you we did 2x12s on the ground. Didn't work out that good. I know a lot of people that have done raised beds. Do you have an opinion on that?
I do both.
Okay.
So I plant a lot of stuff, like I said, kind of in the forest type of setting with perennials and annuals mixed up. But I also have dedicated raised beds that I built.
And is that for certain vegetables specifically?
I tend to put my annuals in there. There's no perennials in them at all. So those are more.
So what would those entail?
So my bell peppers definitely go in raised planter beds. I don't know why. I just do it that way. It seems to work out better. So maybe I get better results, and I can plant them thicker and deeper. So I can plant, 20 bell pepper plants in one raised, one 4x6 raised planter bed. Where like if I plant them out in the ground, like it would have to, they'd be kind of sporadic and all over the place. So with my bell peppers, and it's going to depend. Like, so with bell peppers, they don't tend to get, there's not a lot of bugs that want to eat them. There's not a lot, like I don't get possums and stuff. They're not eating bell peppers. They're going to go after the sweet fruits, the sugars. They're going to smell for the sugars. They're going to go after the sugars for the most part. Most of the rodents. So bell peppers, like I don't have to really worry about them. I can plant 20 deep in a raised planter garden, and I'm going to have good success. And I think that's why I've done it that way. But with the raised planter beds, there tends to be more maintenance, so that you have to, one thing we haven't talked about a lot is, or at all, is watering systems. So with a raised planter bed, like, they dry out faster because they're above ground. So I would recommend, if you have a raised planter bed, you need an automatic watering system that waters them on a schedule, so you're not required to come out and have to do that, day after day.
So with the raised planter beds and the soil, there's the maintenance of that soil. So what is the difference between that and your in-ground?
So in-ground, not losing soil year after year. So in a raised planter garden, I'll fill it up to the top. Like, it'll be brim top, good soil, compost mixed in with.
Okay, so you can compost that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. You have to regenerate no matter what.
No Miracle Grow.
Unless, hey, if that's what it takes for you to get off the ground, it's easy, it's simple, it's going to give you quick results. It's just not a year after year after year.
So you're So you're doing your compost, you're mixing that in.
Yeah, or you're buying it if that's not composting isn't something you want to tackle at that time. But it'll drop 4 inches in a season. So from brim top, the soil.
How does that? What's the mechanism for that?
I think it's just getting used. It's getting, you got your irrigation, it's on it every day. Wind, you got sun deteriorating, you got the plants sucking up nutrients. Like, it drops 3-4 inches every year. So you have to continually input with a raised planter garden. I'm happy to do it for certain crops. And it makes it, there's also the old person advantages. Like, it's taller, it's higher. Right. I don't have to get down on my knees. Like, there's definitely some benefits to it. I'm okay with bringing those inputs to that for some of the benefits I get.
Is the output substantially different than the in-ground? Is there a lesser yield that you see?
I wouldn't say. Nothing I can tell. Nothing I can tell. It's not anything I've really seen.
It's just not your preferred method.
No, I mean, I have 4 4x6 raised planter gardens beds that I use every year. So it's not something that I would say don't do. I like them, but I think you'll find what works and what doesn't. Right. It just, for me, I like my bell peppers in there. I like my onions in there.
I think one of the coolest things was when the bell peppers start to form. Again, just from being a beginning vegetable garden guy, when that bell pepper forms and then it grows, that's one of the coolest things. Like, we were so psyched on that. And again, we love bell peppers, right? We eat them all the time. And my wife is a huge salsa maker and all that. So yeah, it was super cool to see that, happen.
But with bell peppers, man, if you don't plant, like, if your family eats them, like last year, I think I planted 80 or 100 plants. Like, the only way I could do that is starting from seed. Like, if you go and buy that at Home Depot, you're gonna go broke. Yep. They're like $6, $7, $8 a plant. Right. So I can get a packet of seeds for $4, and plant 50 of them and do that 4 times over. Like, I got a lot of bell peppers at that point. That's the only way I'm gonna do it.
And then also the onions. That's your other.
So onions is on the other. So that's funny. That brings up kind of the seasonal stuff. So that's on the other end of the scale. So I'll plant my onions in the ground in early November, and they'll run through till about April, and I harvest then, and that's about the time I'm wanting to put my bell peppers in. So then I'll top cover, like, compost, in my planter beds after I pull out my onions, and then I plant my bell peppers right in. So that's the inputs I'm talking about. So the onions are going to eat up all the nutrients all winter and spring. Then I'm going to bring in all the nutrients. I'm going to plant my bell peppers, and then I'll have to do it again in, say, October, November, when my bell peppers are about done. Right. I'm going to be getting those out of there and planting in my onions, but I got to bring in 3 to 4 more inches of compost at that time. So it's more inputs, like, rather than just putting it in the ground and working with that.
So you've made comments a couple of times about what goes in the ground in the spring for the summer and what goes in the ground in the fall for the winter. And in California, Southern California, correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is spring into summer is flowering, fruiting plants. Tomatoes, flower turns into a fruit. Bell peppers, flower turns into a fruit. In the wintertime, you want to plant rooted, so like onions, right? Because it's growing essentially underground, partially. And then any green leafy, so your lettuce and your spinach and your broccoli and all that stuff, you want to plant that in the winter because if that gets hot, then it bolts and goes bitter and it's no good.
Done. Yeah. Yeah. So definitely. So that's a great basic way of looking at it. Like you're flowering cucumbers, zucchinis,
Right.
tomatoes, bell peppers. Those are all your flowering fruits.
Right.
Summertime. So you're planting them in spring, harvesting them in summer. Your leafy greens and your root crops is another way of saying it. So your radishes, your turnips, your carrots, your fennel, your all of those type of root crops, and then your leafy greens. So anything lettuces, your Swiss chards, your mustard green, all those types of things are all your winter here. And then your brassicas. Your brassicas are more like your broccolis, your cauliflowers, those are actually flowers. So those types of things are all winter here. Your onions and those types. So it's a fantastic place to be a gardener because there's never an off season.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to grow, you can grow year round.
As a first-time gardener, what are the staples that you would suggest planting?
Zucchini. Zucchini, you could plant one plant and you'll be inundated. If it's a good plant, like it's going to be every couple of days you're getting a zucchini. Like no one's going to eat that much zucchini. You're already going to be looking for people to give it to. So those two are right off the top, like super easy. Like you mentioned strawberries earlier. Those are difficult. Like they're
that was tough. Yeah, we had to fail.
They're perennial too. So
Right.
they're a year to year to year, and it's going to take much more just understanding the plant and how it grows and dealing with it. Like that's not an easy plant. Like everyone loves strawberries, but it takes time to learn them. To be honest, I haven't some good ideas to be successful, but I've been mildly successful at it. It's not one that I pursue.
Is there a fruit that you've been very successful at? Non-tree fruit?
Non-tree. I mean,
There's not
tomatoes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all.
Right. Exactly.
Zucchini.
What about cucumbers? Right. That was the other thing I feel like we had a good experience with. Yeah.
I make Mike's had my pickles. They're good pickles. Like I pickle every year.
Yeah. It's so hard not to do that's what she said. Or I mean, it's so hard. Like it's taking everything in me. The 14-year-old in me is just like.
Paul's famous for his pickle. I can tell you.
Mike's told me he likes my pickle.
Your pickle.
Being humble, it's a mighty fine pickle. I can tell you.
No, favorite,
Right.
and they last forever. So like, either you can them or you put them in the refrigerator. Like they'll be in there for months. Like I'll be eating on them till mid winter.
Right.
It's just I mean, I'm a vinegar guy. I love pickles. It's just part of what so talk about learning. Like, what is your family going to eat? Like, I know my family's going to eat pickles. Like they enjoy them. They'll all eat them for the most part. They put them on everything. So that's one of those things I know. I can't grow enough I can't grow enough cucumbers because I know fresh, they're just going to eat them
for sure.
right off the vine. Or throw them in a salad all summer. Or when I pickle them, like we're going to be eating them on our hamburgers for the next 4 months.
Right.
So
Peppers, though. Bell peppers are
They're amazing.
great.
Yeah, jalapenos, another one. We did those, just so good.
Yeah. And you find tons of different ways to
You
use
do?
it. You just go like, man, I got 30 jalapenos out there. What am I like? I can
Right.
make jalapeno poppers on the barbecue. Fantastic. Who doesn't like that?
candy.
Yeah, a cowboy candy. I'm still eating on.
I have some in I just cracked a jar the other day.
So for a beginner, we're starting to grow. We're starting to get that first crop. How do we keep the critters out? Because we've had a horrible experience with rats, raccoons, who knows what, just eating everything. And it really is discouraging. What's the best way to protect your garden from just things that are cruising around and want to eat that?
So I've tried 100 different ways from Tuesday. Like I've even bought like motion censored, sprinklers that come on.
Yeah.
I've bought the coyote urine to spread on the walls.
How did that? Was that good? Not good?
Not so much.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly,
Have you ever gone out and discharged just one shot?
absolutely, I've killed many a critter in my backyard.
Yeah.
It is illegal, but I have a great pellet gun.
Right. Yeah. Pellet gun.
Ground squirrels are a bitch.
Ground squirrels.
They look like regular squirrels. They're on the wires,
Right.
but they hop in your fruit tree and they'll
Yeah.
eat 10 nectarines in a sitting. Like nothing makes you more furious.
You've been tending this, you've been working this for
man.
months and months, and then
So I've killed many of those. I've killed plenty
Yeah.
of possums. I catch them in live traps, and then I've let them go in other areas,
Yeah.
more rural, or like birds peck your fruit. It's just part of it. Like the squirrel's gonna get some stuff. Like I have a macadamia nut tree. Dude, those squirrels ravaged my macadamia one year. I was over it. Like it ticked me off to no end because I love macadamia nuts. They're not all for the squirrels. So there has to be a point where you go, okay, enough's enough. I'm going to sit out here with my pellet gun and we're going to take care of some business. But yeah, as far as like your tomatoes and stuff, like for a beginner, it's hard. I think proximity to the house helps. So if it's way out in the back of your house, out by the back fence, it's going to be easier for the varmints to feel comfortable, rather than having maybe it on pretty close to your patio. If you're doing a raised planter, they look nice. You can put them right next to your patio. Keep it closer to the proximity of the house. I don't have a dog, but a dog definitely helps with that stuff. Like if there's a dog in your backyard, it's going to help.
Right.
Like keep rodents out and stuff like that. And besides that, you can cage stuff to a degree. Right. You can put little chicken wire. So, I mean, it's hit or miss.
Right.
Some years they get you and some years like you wouldn't even know they're in the neighborhood, but they are.
Right.
They're around.
What about insects?
So for insects, I think one of the best things you can do is not plant 20 plants in the same place. Not have all of like lettuces or broccoli, those winter crops, aphids kill them. They can't. So if you plant, 5 broccoli plants within 10 feet of each other, like if one gets it, they're all going to get it. Whereas if you have them kind of spread out in the yard, like in this planter and that planter, kind of all over the place, the bugs it's not as easy for them to jump.
Oh, that's what we did with our strawberries. We planted like 16 plants in a 4x4, 4x5 area. They just got toast. They're just gone.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah. And that's kind of how when they're spread out, number one. Number two, when there's other plants in between, so kind of that forest feel.
Right.
It's confusing. It's not easy.
I love that. Right. That again, not even on my radar. I love that just concept, and it just looks cool.
It does.
Right. Like you just have all these different elements within the yard, your planting area.
I think it looks to your linear German, it's going to look really messed up and all over the place and stuff. Like it's going to feel not planned, but it's very planned. It's like super intricate, like how it all works together rather than just, I've got my fruit trees here and they're all in this straight line. And then I've got my, all my tomatoes and then I think that just sets you up. It can look cool from the kitchen.
It's not the optimal.
I think it works against you. At least in my experience, it's definitely worked against me.
So as you start to harvest, and this is a question for both of you guys, right? And as you're bringing these things now to your table, you're starting to think about things you're going to cook. How cool is that? What you grew in your backyard, friends come over, family, and just kind of that type of communal experience.
I think like the farm to table kind of feel, like it's just super fulfilling, like to your inside. Like I just spent the last 6 months, even though I wasn't out there every day, plants want to live, they want to grow, they want to produce. At the end of the day, come harvest time, I get to share this with, like my kids and their friends, and just watch them just devour these things and ask for more. With the stonefruit, it's like a nectar plum. There's no such thing as a nectar plum in the supermarket, but those things are like candy off the tree. My 5-year-old just like, are the nectar plums ready? Are they ready? Can we pick one, Dad? Can I eat one? I can't wait to eat. And it's not Lucky Charms. There's this just whole, I grew this. I know what this plant is eating to produce this. I put it in the ground 10 years ago, and it's every year it just comes back and it gives this produce that is just part of you. Like, it's just like, I did this and now I'm providing for my family. And rather than, beyond just the paycheck and my presence as a father and a husband, now I'm providing for them in another way, like health. Like be able to give them something that's like beyond anything that they could buy in the supermarket. Like this is beyond organic. This is
Right.
not organic, like labeled supermarket stuff. This is pure, like from my soul, if you will.
No, that's true. I mean, that really is something that, yeah, your blood, sweat, and tears have been out in that garden.
And to be able, like, in whenever anything's ready, like if a buddy comes over, or, you know, one of my kids' friends or whatever, like I'll send them home with stuff like avocados, bananas, whatever's going on that time of year. Like, I'm here, take a bag. Let's go fill up some artichokes and, you know, go feed your family too. That's just super, like, just from the soul type stuff. It's cool.
How long have you had your avocado tree?
So I have 6 avocados. And so the first 2 I planted probably 17 years ago. And then over the years I've added, the other 4. So what I did was try and line up their harvest times back to back. So now this is the first year that I've had avocados year round. So I've got avocado from last December all the way through.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Till right now I'm just finishing up one of my trees, like
so cool,
year-round avocados. Now it won't happen this year because some of the avocados don't fruit every year, some of the varieties I have, but it's going to be pretty common where there won't be a time of year that I won't have an avocado to be able to out and get.
So wait, so you said depending on when you plant it is when you get to harvest it.
No, it's depending on the variety.
The variety. So you're planting different varieties, which all come into harvest at different times of the year.
Yeah. So like the Fuerte. So like most people know Fuerte and Haas. Those are the 2 pretty common avocado varieties that most people understand, especially in Southern California. The Fuerte is kind of your December to March-ish, maybe even into April time. Then your Haas would take over from like March to, let's say, June. And then I have 2 in the summertime. There's the Lamb Haas and the Anaheim variety that take kind of the summertime avocados. And then Stewart, and there's other ones, but Stewart would go like September, October, and then it gets into the bacon avocado, which is October, November, December. And then
dang, so you really have
it rolls right into the Fuerte. So it full circle.
Pretty dope.
And what's cool is like those aren't the only varieties that'll do that. Like there's other varieties out there that I'm even like, I want to get rid of the Stewart and plant, you know, like a Holiday or whatever, you know. So just there's better ones that I've learned along the way that I could be growing, but it's cool.
That's so cool.
Yeah, guacamole year round or whatever you want to make.
Right.
You know, we pick 3 to 4 to 5 avocados a week, and then it usually takes about a week for them to ripen. But in the meantime, I have other ones ripening.
Right.
So it's just this constant.
Yeah, I think avocados might be the single best above tomatoes even. I think they rival the tomato.
I don't know anyone that doesn't want to.
Exactly.
And they cost $1 billion usually in the store. You know, it's like, forget this. I ain't doing that. Like I can plant a $50 tree and in 4 years I'm getting fruit.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, so that's got to be super cool. You know, like Mike comes over with his family and you guys are there, maybe you have a couple other families, and everything you're serving, all that fruit, all those vegetables, right, is from your own garden. It's got to be just a cool.
You get really good at making salsa. You're like, dude, everything in there is from my garden.
Right.
Like and it's good. Like you don't even have to do much with it. It's just good fruit.
Yeah. So one of the things I wanted to ask you was, how do I take those first steps?
Right. So I think planning is important. So understanding sunlight. So sunlight's something that we haven't really talked about. You want a large amount of sun in your garden. Some people, you know, if you try and plant on the side of your house, on the side yard, it's going to be rough because it's going to have a lot of shade and you're probably not going to get as much. The site that you pick is really important. And like you have to take into consideration like big trees and stuff like that, stuff that's going to shade your area.
Yep.
So sunlight's huge. Here we get pretty wicked Santa Ana winds. Like, so is there some structure, like, can you plant it downwind of like your house or?
So that really makes a difference.
It does. It really does, especially for your winter gardens.
Right.
So if you wanted to grow, you know, all your winter crops, if you can't let it get nailed by the wind, that's just going to dry everything out and kill it. Or to keep it alive, you're going to have to input a lot. So what I'm trying to do is year by year, trying less input. I'm trying to back out of it, but get more produce from it.
Mhm.
So I have a family of 6. Like I don't have a ton of time. So my time is valuable. So what I put into the garden, like I want to continue to back out. Like if it was an hour a week 5 years ago, I want it to be less than an hour a
Right.
week, like I want it to be a half hour. Like I want it to be less and less and less as I move on. So getting back to what we're talking about, location is key. Sunlight's key. I would say for a beginner, not to have to remember to go out there daily or every other day to irrigate. I think an irrigation system, and that could be as simple as, a battery operated, screw on the hose bib, soaker system. I've had those through the years. I started with those. They work great. You just have to make sure the battery doesn't die, so sunlight, irrigation, and then soil, of course, is important. And then what you're planting is always going to be important.
And to find the intermediate, right? So I've done this a couple of years. I've been having some really good success. I'm getting the good harvest.
Yeah.
But now I want to ratchet it up and go to that next level, right?
So building your systems from that point. So obviously education. So I've probably read every book in the public library. I've checked it out. I've read through it. I've flipped through it. So the knowledge of people that's out there, there's no one way to do anything.
Right.
There's 1,000 ways to do everything. And depending on who you are, what you want to put into it, and where you live is going to drastically change all that stuff. But the systems, so how am I going to be generating soil yearly? Do I want to buy soil every year and go get a pickup full, or do I want to start composting?
And when you say that, is that like a remove and replace? Is that a full removal, or are you kind of
generally you're just dumping it on top?
Okay,
yeah,
dumping on top.
You can dump it on top,
but don't till it.
No, for me, no.
Right.
There's 1,000 people out there who say get a rototiller and put it in the ground. That's not me. Right. So for me, I don't want to break up the soil. I want to build the soil from the top down. Maybe the first time, if it's rock hard clay, I might till just to try and break that top surface for the first year. But past that, I won't do it. So composting, you can, and covering the ground. So that's another kind of intermediate type thing. So mulching in some fashion. It doesn't have to be wood, but it could be grass clippings. It could be branches. It could be leaves. It could be compost. But
and what does that do?
Don't let the bare ground get killed by the sun.
Got it.
So when bare ground's hitting sun, it turns into the rock hard. You can't get a shovel even into it, a half inch. So if you're covering it with layers upon layers of mulch, organic type material, it doesn't, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. A mix for me is always best. So it can't all be grass. It can't all be wood chips. It can't all be compost. Like it just needs to be a continual, just mix, just whatever's in the yard, throw it on top in a different area, So allow that organic stuff just to deteriorate in place and allow it to cover the soil, the dirt, and turn it into soil. So make it live. It helps, it helps to start to grow the soil into something that's going to benefit the plants.
And one of the biggest things I think you said was don't plant everything together. You have other plants mixed in with your vegetables. And again, is that just a trial and error?
Honestly, it's just more reading and educating myself as to other ways of doing things. And it's a small scale. So it's a backyard, half a backyard, a corner of a backyard. We don't need to look like rows and rows and rows of beets, like a farmer would do. So it's the different levels help. So you have like a fruit tree that's 8 to 10 feet tall, and then you have the vines that might be held up on a trellis, and then you have ground cover that could look like mint or some type of an herb. And then you got like your root crops or your annual tomatoes or whatever. So it's all kind of just mixed up and kind of growing and living together. That forest, think forest. Like that's the...
No, I love that. You mentioned that at the start, and I feel like that is such an amazing one word. Once you said that, I'm like, that is it. Creating that forest environment.
Look what works in natural settings and try and build that into your suburban backyard. Like make it try and feel more like a forest. It's gonna function better. So even if you want to do raised planter beds, this is great. Like I have no problem with raised planter beds.
Yeah.
But put a fruit tree in between them.
Yeah. Right.
You know, do simple things like that. Not a fruit tree that's going to shade the whole, but put it in a location where it kind of lives over the top of, in a way, you know, and then put a grapevine trellis kind of on the side of one of them.
Yeah.
Like do those types of things to mix things up and make things kind of feel
Right. Yeah. When was the last time you saw Mike's garden?
It's dirt at the moment. It's about to get planted. So
It was maybe 2 weeks ago. I was over there.
but we always have we have boysenberries year round growing. Those will be harvesting here.
I mean, Mike, the boysenberry jam you
it's
made
money.
was like a 15 out of 10. Like it was
It's fantastic.
beyond,
It's good.
beyond.
Yeah.
And now
Doesn't even make sense.
I'm growing grapes because of Paul. So he helped me out and we planted some.
So-
Yeah, I'm going to go down to Orange County Farm Supply because Home Depot plants are not great.
So are you going to buy plants already kind of on their way?
Probably because it's already coming into April and I'm
Yep.
probably a little behind where I'd want to be. So I'll spend the money just to get the starts. Had I thought about it 45 days ago, I probably would have put seed into the ground.
Usually I'd be kicking down plants to you right about now.
Yeah,
I think you were busy launching a podcast.
just-
You didn't have time to think about the garden.
It's true. It's true. So
Life
I'll
gets in the way.
just do some starts. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we'll get a bunch of stuff in the ground.
And then when will you start?
Like what, 45, 60 days for some?
Yeah,
some
like that's not
things?
bad. I think people, again, I thought this was going to be a 6-9 year process. The fact that you can start reaping that within a couple months is super
Depending
cool.
on what it is. Like some things
Yeah.
take longer than others. And again, some things are going to mature later in the season versus earlier. It just depends on the plants that you pick.
Yeah.
So people that are sitting on the fence, right? They're like, I've been wanting to do this. I've done a little research. I've watched YouTube videos. I've been on Instagram. It sounds amazing. I can't get myself to go and push through. What would your recommendation be?
I mean, just do something small. Find a plant or two that you know that you would enjoy harvesting in a couple months and just plant one, you know, and get really good at growing one plant. If you want to start small, grow one tomato plant.
Yep.
You know, and tend it. Like, and you'll learn so much from that one plant that next year you'll be like, I can grow 6 of these.
Right.
Like it happens so quickly. Like it snowballs on you. And then you'll be like, well, I'm not just going to plant my 6 tomato plants. I'm going to plant, 6 bell peppers with it, or
So it just kind of starts stacking on top of
it just starts growing. But I would say if you're on the fence and you think, oh, this might be something I want to try, then buy, a tomato plant and even put it in a pot. Who cares? Like it can be as simple as that. You don't even need ground. You could be in a condo and plant a tomato plant and throw a stick in there and tie it to the stick as it grows. You will have success. So do it.
And then those topsy-turvy tomato plants you can hang upside down and
you're right.
it grows out the bottom.
Yep.
Those
My
things work.
father-in-law got one for Christmas and planted it, and they got all kinds of tomatoes out of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He actually has a little garden, and that was the start. Like hanging that on the patio was the start to his little in-ground garden that he has now.
No, that's super cool.
So no matter where you are in your gardening journey, whether you're just getting into it, you've never done it before, you want to start, you've had some success and you're looking to go to the next level, or you're intermediate and you're really wanting to take your gardening up a notch. I think the key is resources, right? So what resources are available for anybody who's looking to take the next step? What would you tell them?
I would say gardening is pretty much like anything these days. Google is your friend. The internet is loaded with website upon website of people who do this in their backyard to the commercial farmer. And for the beginner, how do I pot plants in a pot on my patio to, how do I build a forest situation in my own backyard? The websites and social media on Instagram or...
You have an awesome Instagram.
Thank you.
You really do. I mean, but you do. I mean, I feel like, so give us, your Instagram, if people want to check you out and see everything that you're doing.
It's Dalmas Farms, Dalmas Farms at Instagram. And for me, like it never started as like a tutorial of how to garden, but it's more just kind of my journey and what I'm doing in that season like what I'm harvesting in that season, what I'm planting in that season, that type of stuff. So that's the great thing about social media. Like you can pick up, you follow me or you follow local Southern California gardener. I'm sure once you kind of get a group of those that you're following, you're going to see what they're doing at that time of year. Like when they're seeding up their tomatoes. For me, if I'm going to seed tomatoes, it's going to be the first week of February. So about the first couple weeks of March, I can get them in the ground. You know, it's going to vary depending on where you live in the country. If you're in with 20, 30, you can have as many as you want, 100 people in the local area that are gardening. Once you follow one, you know, you're going to get suggestions for the next 15,000 of them. So pick the ones that are in your area and follow what they're doing. And pretty soon you're going to be one of the people that's kind of leading the way.
Yeah, that's true. Like you get into the community, you become the community, and then you become a community leader, right? Like you become, you know, one of those people that people are going to be going to.
All right. Well, Paul, thanks for coming in. I think it was very informative. I think anybody out there that's interested in gardening or wants to start a garden, you should start a garden. You should look into it. You should take the next step. This is very approachable. It's a low cost entry level. It's as big or as bold as you want it to be. Any questions, you can hit us up here at the show. We're going to put some links to Paul's Instagram and some of his recommended resources. So until next time.